I'm just about to send a link to our friend Ms.Blipper, as that might be helpful, and then she's going to come up and we're going to talk. And we're going to talk about Course in Miracles. Maybe answer some questions if you have questions. And I have a few things that I'm going to bring up with her. Was of her perspective. There we go. We'll see if she gets in. Hi, Jessica. We'll do some, Ellie says, support this guy. Thank you, Ellie. We'll do some breath before her and I dive in. And we'll catch up with you guys. Ellie says, let's go. You got this. I appreciate that encouragement. Hey, Dolly. If you're enjoying the channel's content, hit like, show support, share this out, and subscribe. I would appreciate all of that. Jessica says hi. Ellie says, how are you? Ellie, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? Did you get anything worked out yet? Let's see. Lee's here. Lee says, say yogi. Good evening. Good evening, you, my friend. Jessica is doing a live this evening, 6 o'clock. All right, guys. I'm going to gift 5 memberships. I can do that at the beginning of the month. Let's see who might get them. Oh, you get your meds tomorrow? I hope tonight's not too bad for you then. Jessica says yes. All right. Our friend Nightmare, good friend. And hey, Abigail. Marketplace. Tandra, the lovely Tandra. And Rob. Rob's a friend. It's been coming for a while. And Sab the Secret. We'll do 5 more later, maybe tonight, maybe this afternoon. We'll see. Abigail says, congrats, everyone. Thank you for that, Abigail. Josh says, that's a damn good cookie. You know what? I mentioned this the other day, Josh. It really was a damn good cookie. Hey, Big Al. Abigail says, happy day of the weekend to everyone. Happy Labor Day to you. Abigail's helping everyone mod. I always appreciate that. Hey, Betty. Betty says hello. Oh, he says cookie. You thinking about a cookie, Ellie? You can't go wrong with a cookie. Oatmeal chocolate chip, vegan chocolate chip. He saw a snake? What kind of snake did he see, Abigail? Do you know? What's the most Texas thing in Texas? Trucks? Stetsons? Line dancing? Dallas Cowboys? Lee says, Abigail, you're a wonderful mod. She sure is. Ellie says, now I want a cookie, but we have one. Oh, black snake. I ran. I haven't seen many snakes lately. I used to see them almost every day in the summer. It's probably been 2 years since I've seen a snake. Big Al had his puppy here. How'd that go? What's the name of the puppy? All right, we're going to see. How's everything with Ms.Blipper, if she's coming up? Just because he's wrong, according to the restaurant, Whataburger, oh, it's the most famous thing in Texas. Do you think so? But Whataburger hasn't been around forever. No, he didn't say what's the most what's the most, all right, you might have a point there, Jessica. What does Josh have to say about that? Well, chances is winning. I like that. Big Al says his name is Rolo Yogi. Nice. I like that name too. Josh says, but I think it's the Ford F-115, 150. That's what I was thinking, trucks. Like I says, I'm trying to distract myself from the pain. It's not going that well. Hey, let's do some breath work and see if that helps. Jessica, you up for some breath work? Abigail says, I want a chance to win. What would you like to win at? Josh says, first thing I do in the morning, other than bathroom stuff. Well, you told me, Josh. What do you do before bathroom stuff? Hey, Tiger King. I don't, Tiger King. Let's just play it by ear. You can come up tomorrow if you want. You can come up tonight if you want. Ellie is up for breath work. Jessica says, yes, Eric, please. All right, let's do that. Josh says, open my eyes. Well, there you go. I don't even bother to open my eyes. Do you have them on your community page, Big Al? All right, here we go. Breath work. Breathing in for 4, exhaling for 4. Very simple practice. We're not going to complicate it today. We're not going to add other stuff. Other stuff is always good. Today, we're just going to do breath work. And maybe tonight, before Jessica goes live, we'll do a little more extensive breath. This is just to help ease us through the day. Maybe alleviate a little pain, and maybe to back us away from a little bit of anxiety that we might be experiencing. So if you go ahead and close your eyes, and let's take a deep breath through the nose. Let's sip in air and just let out a sigh. Pursed lips, a little bit of a whoosh, letting everything go, just surrendering. I'm going to count to 3, and after 3, we're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to use that ha sound, if you remember how to do it. And then we're going to exhale through the nose for a count of 4. We're going to do 10 rounds, nice and easy, relaxed. 1, 2, 3. Breathing in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2,
Sorry, I'm late.
3, 4. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. And our last breath for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. Let the breath go. Allow it to settle back into its own natural rhythm. Move about a little bit slowly before you open your eyes. Maybe let out a big yawn. And when you're ready, we'll see you in the chat. And we're going to talk with Ms.Blipper, who's here right in time because we just finished the breath work.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you doing?
Good. Our friend Lee says, Seb, Ms.Blipper, good call. Ms.Blipper, good evening.
Hello there.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Hey, Heart Matters. You're welcome, Jessica. Hi, Danny.
Let me get my glasses. One moment.
Sure.
I can't see. All right, come here.
I have questions for you.
Wow, wonderful.
Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely.
Also, speaking of questions, guys, this is our friend Ms.Blipper. Ms.Blipper is a long-term practitioner, student, teacher of A Course in Miracles. We drinking margaritas? Because I didn't know.
Water.
Water. Gotcha. Kat says, "Yay, Ms.Blipper, love you both."
Hi, Kat.
How do you feel? Let's start this off with this. We're going to pivot. I got a lot of things to ask you and to discuss. How do you feel about being called a teacher of A Course in Miracles?
Yeah, I wouldn't have used that. But they have another word that they sometimes use when people do groups and things. I can't remember. It's not teacher. Yeah, I don't know how comfortable I am with it. I don't really go around teaching A Course in Miracles. I just study it.
Well, then that brings me to the next question. Because, well, first off, let me offer beforehand. The course also says we teach what we most need to learn, so that puts us as both teacher and student at the same time.
Facilitator, that's what they call them, yeah.
That's a nice word. I like that. I like practitioner, and
Yeah.
if I teach, I end up teaching by demonstrating. So that puts the onus on me to be a good student.
Yeah, that works.
So that brings me right to all right. Let's ask before I get into what I was going to say. Our friend Heart Matter says, "What is a miracle, or what is not a miracle?" Let me preface real quick. Ms. Blipper and I are going to answer through the lens of A Course in Miracles, not through the lens of manifestation, not through the lens of loaves and fishes, not through the lens of curing a tooth, but not that any of those things are excluded, but the lens is going to be through A Course in Miracles.
Sounds
What's a
about
miracle?
right.
Yeah, what's a miracle?
Well, I was going to say that's a perfect question for you because you just went through the 50 descriptions of them, right?
Right. It's pretty simple.
Excuse me?
It's pretty simple. I don't know if they needed 50, but we have 50 there. For me, I always defer. Hey, Joe, I saw you come in doing breath work. I apologize. I always defer to the simplicity of shift in perception. Can I see this differently? And can I have the foresight and the willingness to hand it over to the Holy Spirit to help me see things differently?
Yeah. Isn't one of those principles, though, that they are not always perceived, that there are miracles that we don't see sometimes, too, right?
Right. We never know exactly what's going on behind the scene. I think we might not be aware, but I think we always experience. Hey, Sue. Sue says hi to Ms.Blipper.
Hi, Sue.
I think we always go ahead.
No, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
And we don't know, since we're not seeing what's behind the scenes, we don't know if we can attribute it to something specific. I've asked for miracles of forgiveness before, and I've never seen an outer sign from someone else, but I have as well. I've had people who seem miraculously to reach out through that process unexpectedly. But what I find is when I do offer it, when I ask for the miracle and when I give it to the Holy Spirit, my heart becomes lighter. So there might not be that outward sign, but inwardly, I'm not carrying that weight around any longer.
Doesn't it say something like all acts of love are in a sense miraculous, you know?
Yes. Anytime you are extending love,
Hmm.
anytime that you do an act of kindness, what was you used a quote the other day, the holiest place on earth.
Is where an ancient hatred becomes a present love.
And we think of that in terms of often geography, physical, but it's also a resentment that we've carried for a very long time. And who knows how many lifetimes we've carried a particular resentment that just comes to surface here. Um, and when you're just able to let it go, and all of a sudden that ancient hatred is gone.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned forgiveness. Even if you know you can let something go, or decide not to judge something inside you, that could also be considered a miracle. Like you just decided to, like you say, perspective change, decided to adopt a better way of seeing something.
Right. Which the first miracle, as demonstrated through A Course in Miracles, was saying there has to be a better way. That statement is from the two scribes of A Course in Miracles, Helen and Bill. And Bill was head of the psychology department of Columbia University in New York City. And his assistant was Helen Suckman, who they were at odds. They respected each other. They, in a way, they loved each other, but they were butting heads constantly. And it was also a very competitive, hey, Praveed, very competitive environment. And Bill, who was a very sensitive person, eventually got to the point where in a meeting he was completely frustrated and said there has to be a better way, which was unexpected from him to have that kind of an outburst. And just as unexpectedly, Helen said there is, and I'll help you find it. And that facilitated the birth of A Course in Miracles. Let's see, Heart Matter says to repeat, any change that occurs after you ask a spirit for that change, presumably we are attributing credit for that change to that spirit. But we're not talking spirit. Can you touch upon that? I don't.
Well, yeah, or it depends what you're calling it. If you're just like handing something over to love, like in the case that you just described with Helen and Bill, it was somebody. It was a decision to really see somebody else or the other people involved in a current situation um, in another way, meaning they weren't looking at only their own self-interest, but in that looking at somebody else's interests as their own as well.
Right. I want to touch on something, and I love talking to you about this in particular. I want to clarify for Heart Matters that we're not talking about spirits. We're not talking about like we're doing a Ouija board and we're connecting with
Oh no, no,
spirits.
no, no,
Uh,
no. Yeah.
we're using the term Holy Spirit, which I'm going to hand it all over to you because I love your talk of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, inspiration, universal inspiration, looking at something again, not through which lens, not through just me, the ego lens, but adopting a greater picture.
And
You know,
where is the Holy? Hey, Sissy, where is the Holy Spirit located?
inside our minds and hearts.
Um, yes. Is there anything else located inside our minds?
Everything is located inside our minds.
Also, the presence of the ego is located in the mind.
Absolutely.
So we could turn
Yeah.
all of our problems over to the ego, and how would that help?
I don't think it would help.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Or we could hand all our problems over to the Holy Spirit, in which we receive, because you love using the term universal inspiration, we receive inspiration. Holy Spirit, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
And Holy
agree.
Spirit doesn't shout. You're not given this, you know, uh, loud booming voice in a burning bush. Although again, it doesn't exclude such a thing. But you're given that subtle inspiration that is always loving and always steers you towards kindness and uh, infinite care for yourself, for others. Um, it's never going to speak of division. It's never going to say do something hurtful to yourself or to someone else.
Yeah, I don't. I think maybe it's important to clarify this or not. I don't even think that it is necessarily that the Holy Spirit is at all limited to any one person's mind. I mean, everybody has access to the Holy Spirit as much as the next person.
So you're saying that this isn't my own individual Holy Spirit that I've been carrying around with me? It's also yours?
Yeah, you got to share.
Do you have more of it than I do? You
Oh,
sure?
yeah, I'm positive.
All right. If you did have more, would you share it with me?
I would share it all.
I appreciate that. So heart matters. I hope that sort of clarifies that. Yeah, we're not talking spirits. We're talking that one universal voice of love, which is our connection to God. And if you don't like the term God, Ms.Blipper, you probably have as many terms for God as you have for Holy Spirit.
Truth, light, love, peace, inner peace.
Really doesn't matter what term we use, does it?
No.
You sure?
I have a
God's not
friend
going to.
though. I have a friend here in Rome who studied A Course in Miracles, and she struggled, I guess, as some people do, with the language, and so she was finding herself having to substitute the word love instead of God.
Right. And some people struggle with the word love. There's always going to be some things that resonate and some things that don't. Um, and as far as terms, as far as out of form, uh, you can call it or whatever you want. It's the inner work that
Right.
counts. All right, that sort of brings me up to the next subject because there's two things I want to ask you, but this stood right in. You, as a long term, 30 plus years, how do you practice Course in Miracles? How do you live it?
Ah, me personally, I when I wake up, sometimes when I just open my eyes, but sometimes it's just after I've gotten up and made some coffee. Um, but I pretty much as close to waking up as possible. I I sit. I have a time, like a meditation time. Um, it's 15-20 minutes. It's always at least 15 minutes, sometimes more. And I kind of set my intentions for the day, meaning I don't, I kind of looking forward to the day, set my intentions. I want to share my decisions with the Holy Spirit. I want to make decisions which, um, or have my decisions guided um, in a direction, and share those decisions in a direction which works lovingly. There you go. Quite simple, really. But l- kind of, it's like a moment of recognition where I recognize that I'm sharing my decisions anyway, either with my ego or the Holy Spirit. So I very lightly kind of ask to make them with the Holy Spirit. And so then there's that, and then I actually right now am going through the workbook, so I don't even know what today's lesson. I mean, I know what today's lesson is, but I don't know what number it is. 200 something. So I've been doing a lesson every day since January. I started January 1st. Yeah. I'm sorry. What happened? What?
I think it was me. I think I faded out for a second.
Hmm.
Here was saying, I think Ms.Blipper froze, and it was me all along.
Okay.
Do you think that when you um, let me ask real quick. Count was asking if we're sticking to one topic, and we're sort of weaving our way through, which I always enjoy. Kat says, "Okay, so can I ask for a refresher? Does A Course in Miracles talk on sickness?"
Oh, quite a bit.
Um,
It talks about sickness, however, as kind of a part of the mind too. You know that it's not something just from outside. That uh, it it's a product of the way we look at things.
right. So all sickness is uh, a product from the mind, and all solutions come from the mind as well. However, it um, doesn't say um, don't
Oh,
use
medicine or anything?
right.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You do what you need to do on the level of form, realizing that everything ultimately takes place on the level of the mind, which is formless. The mind is when we say mind, we're not talking brain. So, what's your term for uh, the mind, or do you just use the mind? Because a lot of times when people say mind, they think brain.
Oh, no, I don't. Well, for me, brain is like the physical organ. I'm not for me, mind um, is far bigger and greater than just a physical organ, brain. Um, which is interesting that you bring it up because it gets to the next thing that I would talk about, which is communication. The mind uh, can connect you with other mind too, or with itself. Not just the brain. I don't think of the mind as separate or independent from all minds.
Right, one mind.
One.
Um, Now, does that mean we can heal others?
Well, that's interesting. I wouldn't put it that way. I would put like that others can be inspired to heal themselves.
Right. I love that answer. Um, our friend Lee says the hardest thing for him to deal with is a violent temper, somebody who can have highs and lows and not taking the low mood personally.
That's huge. Not judging.
We can sort of say, um, you know, we talked before about the holographic nature of the course, how one thing contains the entirety. You can really, if you practice non-judgment every day, you're literally practicing A Course in Miracles.
Truly.
That doesn't mean that you don't judge. It means you recognize that you're judging, and then you do what. Go ahead.
And recognize the fallibility of judgment.
Right.
No, kind of, its limitations.
Do you ever really feel at peace after you've offered a judgment to someone, or do you feel smug, content, like you know?
Me personally, I think of it more in terms of fear. Like, it's stuff like judgment is. Um, Judgment is holding at bay a better way of looking at things or a preferable way of looking at things. It's like
Right.
it's kind of the judging is like glue to the ego.
Now, the Course emphasizes there's really only one problem, and it has many facets, many appearances. And the one problem is our guilt. And guilt appears as fear, as judgment, as resentment, as grievances. Um, when we heal the guilt that we're projecting outwards, we heal all of those things. So if you recognize fear, fear is a symptom of guilt. If you recognize resentment, resentment. If you recognize judgment, judgment's a symptom of guilt. So it's all about inner work that we do.
Yep. And I guess one of the most frequent fears, or what is causing a lot of fear, is the idea that we have been trying to usurp God's throne. We've been trying. Our egos we've been so busy trying to call the shots rather than accept, that um, there is a peace and a love that is much greater than our limited ways of seeing things. There's a lot of guilt about that. There's a lot of guilt about wanting to call the shots rather than um, kind of seeing the good in what there is.
Right. So, hey, Adam, when we do,
Hi, Adam.
and Sniper says a healer will tell you that they don't heal, that they are the vessel for the healing, or to go back to your word, facilitator. So doubling back to Lee, to Seb, it's so easy to judge our judging. I'm such a rotten person because I'm going around judging all the time. And which is that insidious trap of the ego, just wants to draw you back in. You think you're making progress because, well, I'm not judging aloud or I'm not offering to people, but all the while we're judging ourselves for the type of person we believe we are, which goes back to the practice of the Course isn't to not judge, it's to see that you're judging, and then you offer that to the Holy Spirit. Everything is so, when you realize that, everything becomes so simple. We don't have to forgive. We realize that we are having unforgiving thoughts, and we turn them over to the Holy Spirit. We don't have, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say part of that for me too is just realizing that you can't judge, or that any judgment you can make is kind of silliness to begin with, because judging implies that you have all the information, all the future, all the past, all whatever is going on in everybody else's minds, what's going on in their perceptions. And so I think there can be some recognition that you really can't judge, or that the judgments that you would make are kind of silly.
Right. What would you say to someone who was interested in the Course and felt that they were maybe making some progress, but they find that they are struggling with the ego?
It's just like, don't we all? Right. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what I'd say. I just would just be relaxed about it. Just not try to get in the way of,
Right.
um, good. Call the, see that that's what's going on. And again, is there a better way? Put it up there. Yeah.
I love that. Is there a better way? And then see what comes to you. Is there a better way? Am I struggling? Is there a better way?
Mm-hmm.
And then wait, and maybe you'll struggle for a bit, but a better way will show itself. And then do that. Do the better way. Ask for help, and then follow the help that arrives. Very often, help does arrive, and we go, nope, that's not what I asked for. I wanted this guy out of my life. I didn't want to have to, forgive and accept or offer love or to be kind. I wanted them gone.
Yeah, there can be moments like that too. Ugly moments where you're like, Oh, I've been holding up this fence of, ugliness. Maybe I shouldn't be so into guilt induction or whatever, or those kind of like, is this working for me? I don't know, and I think partially anyway, another way of looking at it would be what you're choosing to put on the altar, meaning um it isn't that you have an altar, but that it's like it's what you bring to it. And the idea that um maybe what you want to bring is sort of a peaceful attitude, or a loving attitude, and that maybe possibly that works as a better conduit, no, than
Right.
judgment and other
Sometimes I think it's hey, bud, files. Sometimes I think it's um, maybe the best that we can do was go, okay, it's present, it's here, um, and then we ask for help. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of not bypassing, and um, for the course, yeah, you have to dive in and do the work. You have to recognize what's going on, and you might. I love Ken Flopnick's that it's okay to choose the ego. It's okay to. We have two teachers. One is always right, the Holy Spirit, the voice of God, the voice of love, and the ego. The ego is always going to seek division. It's always going to seek separation. It's always going to seek to gain its identity in the form of some form of chaos. And it's okay to choose the ego. Just know that you're choosing it.
nah. I don't know. Yeah, it's okay. I think people, maybe I just come from the school of hard knocks, and I just think I'm more into like recognizing when it's not working for me.
Right. I I agree. But for me, reading that from Ken Wapnick a long time ago
Mhm.
was such a great way of relaxing. Because it's okay. Because now I know I'm chose the wrong teacher. I don't have to keep choosing the wrong teacher. I can choose the right teacher. But until we recognize we've been choosing the wrong teacher for so long, um, we don't even realize that we have that other option of choosing something. But I found that when I first began with the course, I would punish myself for choosing the wrong teacher, which just pretty much um, compounds. Yeah,
Right.
carries it over, and then I'm spiraling. Such a horrible student. Um, Not only am I a horrible student, I'm a horrible person because I know, and I'm still choosing the wrong teacher. But as soon as I started taking it a little lighter, so I chose the wrong teacher, I can choose again. And we can really say that the whole message of the course is choose once again as often
Yeah.
as you need to,
Yeah.
and you have a lifetime of choosing again. And I do. I take that option uh, to its fullest advantage of choosing again, of messing up. What I find is with practice, I mess up a little more gently, a little more easier, and I choose again earlier and earlier and earlier before it escalates.
Yeah. I sometimes feel guilty that I still let most of my life, I still wasn't, I mean, most of my life I never paid any attention to any of this, not the Holy Spirit, not God, not miracles. I mean,
Uh, Sniper had said Ms.Blipper exactly. I felt like I was being judged in this, being judged in this chat, but I realized again, what others thinks of me is none of my business. You slip occasionally, but reflect is grand.
true. I've struggled with that too. I'm not in this chat, but I've struggled with, um, you know, worrying how I see things fits into other people's estimations of me or whatever, and it's like that's just not my problem, really.
Um, what's been your biggest obstacle as a student in the course? Your biggest hurdle?
Um, Gosh, I would say either a very bad addiction to littleness, because they have a very big addiction to littleness, confusing littleness, mixing littleness with humility, but it's like a fake humility.
Right.
So I would say that, or um again, being prone to or addicted to uh self-pity. Yeah.
It's a good answer. For me, other people, if they don't cooperate with me, uh, it would be so much easier. You know what I mean? If they gave me less to
Dang.
forgive,
Yeah.
I'm not asking for too much, am I?
No, no. Just yeah, you should control the universe.
You know what? I was joking, but I'm glad you said that because we do want to control the universe,
Hmm.
and we want the course to help us.
Hmm.
Why isn't it easier? Why, I'm doing a lesson, I'm following the lessons.
I love
Uh,
I love the section of the course called the last unanswered question. And it's like, you can have all those things. You can all be, good and all be the same. But there's that last, you know, unanswered question, which is, do I want to see what I refuse to see because it is the truth? And it's just like, oh, for all that other stuff, it's like you gotta have your ducks lined up in a certain sense.
right, right.
Also that it doesn't have to that it has to deal with um an answer to eternity, not just this little picture now.
Um, so the course does have a way of we feel like we're chugging along and we get the rug pulled out from beneath of us and find that we're not really, you know, this advanced being that we are leading ourselves to believe. Um, it's easy to get caught up in the ego of being um, a spiritual seeker, of being a course student, of being someone who's I'm above the messiness. I've graduated. I've done 365 lessons. I got to be advanced, right? And then the course says, nope, pulls the rug out from beneath of you, um, and you're free falling all over again.
Yeah, but even that, if it makes me think um of all things, Jesus himself, who went through all these struggles being human, you know, playing a being a member of humanity. um isn't um godliness necessarily. you know it's a struggle, but it's a beautiful thing to recognize that part of humanity,
Right.
kind of see the divinity in humanity, but also the lack of divinity in humanity, that
Um,
dichotomy.
Sissy says that was my initial response to New Earth, but I keep being called back to it. New Earth is by Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
Um, really wonderful book. Eckhart Tolle was a oops,
Yeah, it comes out backwards. That's why I'm having trouble. Yeah, I can't really read it. Okay. Uh-huh. I know I've heard of him.
who was a student of the course, actually, and
Right.
he quotes it quite frequently. As a matter of fact, I think there's only two quotes in The Power of Now, his first book, and one is from A Course in Miracles, and I think the others might be from the uh, Yogic Upanishads. I think I could be mistaken, or it could be Eckhart Tolle, or not Eckhart Tolle, Meister Eckhart.
I wanted to understand what Sissy was saying about Eckhart Tolle, though. What was she saying? That her response to it was.
Um, that she was. it confronted her, that
Mhm.
it would pull the carpet out from beneath her, and she'd be left floundering a bit, and maybe even wanting to get away from it a little bit. But as she says, it keeps calling it back. And I've read several times the Course in Miracles. It might be the most thrown away book that people rebuy ever. And I've literally tossed it aside several times, especially the first decade of working through it. It was a struggle. Um, the struggle is because we don't want to give up that the ego belief that we treasure some hardships, we treasure some judgments, we treasure some resentments. And we say it's the scars that make us who we are. Without my hurt, doesn't that mean people will uh, walk all over me? Doesn't mean that I let that person win who hurt me. That if I forgive, if I let go, uh, then uh, what do I have?
Yeah, I just think the ego's very strong too, at wanting to maintain specialness, no?
Um, so what do we mean by specialness?
Meaning, like my little identity, what I see as me, this body I walk in, this place I live, the people I meet, the actions I do, um, my personality, um, that 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 should somehow call the shots, and it doesn't.
No. Um, or but it can certainly seem to for a very long time, maybe sometimes for a lifetime.
Yeah, and again, that can be a very passionate addiction. No, it can be a fear thing. Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that almost afraid that the universe would toss something better my way.
Right. Um, I've read I've read this before, but I just read it maybe a few minutes before I came live. That very often people say that uh, things feel worse in their initial practice of A Course in Miracles. That lots of things come rushing forward, and it feels heavier, harder, or all of a sudden they're confronted with uh, things that they feel are unforgivable.
I would agree with that. I think that a lot of stuff does come to the surface right at the beginning. Generally speaking, I can't say for other people, but certainly did for me too. Initially when I first started getting into the Course in Miracles.
Right. So Kat says, I get frustrated because I have just enough Course in Miracles knowledge to know better, yet here I am still struggling.
Ah, okay. So yeah, groundwork. So Kat's now seeing that she can make a decision, right?
Um, the ego holds on, the ego clings and
Yep.
grasps, and will continue grasping, but the grasp gets lighter. But there's always going to be, we could call it that one last grasp, the heaviest of all. Um, don't let go of all the stuff that I've cherished. Don't let go of my cherishing the identity of just being a body, of just being a physical entity. Don't let go of these resentments and these judgments and these issues that I've long identified with. Don't let go, because who you're going to be. You don't want to be nothing. And the Course says by letting go of all these things, you don't become nothing.
You become everything. Yeah.
Um, so frustration is part of that ego. I should know better. I should be better. I should be a better student. And I,
But it's also
during
as long as I kick myself in the head, You know, as long as
Right.
I keep myself in my own head, I get to stay stagnant where I am.
So what if sickness is a way of saying you're not a very good student? The ego saying, give it up. You're not a very good student. Look at you. You don't feel well.
I just say, don't judge it, you know? Don't judge the being sick either. I actually had a friend, she's the only person beside you that I knew online from about A Course in Miracles, no? And she's a good friend, and she's actually a friend of a friend. And the friend that she was a friend, our mutual friend, was not didn't know anything about A Course in Miracles at all. But we read the same books and we talked a lot about Course in Miracles for a couple of years, and then bing, she just died, just like that. Like, no idea she was sick, no idea any of that was going on. All we ever talked about was Course in Miracles stuff. And then, like, one day, just like that, bing, she wasn't there. And I mean, I maybe it sounds weird that I'm kind of laughing about it, but it obviously wasn't about even just this life. It just wasn't all about. Uh, I don't think our relationship had anything much to do with, again, this body, this little interaction going on now. I think something else was going on.
Um, who was it that said that sometimes a cigar is just a cigar? Um, I
I
forget
don't know.
who it was, maybe W.C. Fields or Groucho Marx, or
Don't
he
know.
was actually replying to uh, Freud's uh, everything is a phallic symbol. That a cigar, someone smoking a cigar is
Oh,
a phallic
okay.
symbol. And his reply was, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Sometimes being sick doesn't have to carry the weight of a cosmic answer to it. It can be something very simple. Take care of yourself, love yourself. Um, don't exclude yourself from the practice of A Course in Miracles, thinking that you are just the practitioner and also not the receiver. That, it's okay to ask for a healing for yourself. It's okay to sometimes just not feel good and sincerely ask, can I feel better? Um, we're not, sometimes we might take our illness as a form of punishment that I've done something, I haven't been a good enough student, and here I am struggling and I'm sick.
Hmm.
Um, but I just think sometimes it's easier, and that might be. You said earlier in the conversation, I forget what it was regards to. I believe it was judgment. Relax. Um,
Yeah, just put it up there. Just put it up there. Just say it. I don't feel good. I feel sick. I'm tired of being sick. I'd like some help. I have no need of this, really.
right,
There's got to be a better way. I'm going to turn the light on.
Heavenly, how are you, my friend? Hey, man, and I hope you're having a good day. Skits, it's nice to see you. Our friend Heart Matter says all forms of learning I've encountered have many levels of understanding. You can be a beginner at a sport or math or writing. Is it possible to define the levels of this learning?
Um, Not easy, but perhaps if you can have a mark level, something very light, like you mentioned before, you notice yourself being more at peace more often. But it's
Um,
not that's not really levels or anything. It's not like, you're getting a grade in school or anything. Yeah.
right. I like how the course does offer um, characteristics of God's teachers and in the teacher's manual. And they also talk about an advanced teacher, but they sort of say, "Don't worry about it, because you ain't it." And it's going to be a long time
Yeah.
before you are. Just practice, just continuously practice. wake up in the morning, and I love the little prayer where we say to the Holy Spirit, where should I go today? What should I say? Uh, what should I do today? Where should I go? What should I say, and who should I say it to?
Right. I'd like to share my decisions with the Holy Spirit. I'd like to share it with the Holy Spirit today. Yeah.
Just keep giving things to the Holy Spirit, and then allow inspiration to follow. And don't assume the first thing you hear is the inspiration, because the course does say very strongly that the ego always speaks first, and it's always the loudest, and it's always wrong.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree also. One exercise that is interesting, and it helps the morning meditation with this, is kind of beginning to acknowledge how much chatter we put. My phone just fell over. How much chatter we can come up with to kind of keep the Holy Spirit at bay. Have you ever like observed your brain just going chippity chappity chippity chappity chippity chappity, and with so much noise, how is like the Holy Spirit got a say in anything?
Right. Hey, Adam says, I think the course says that sickness is what we do to ourselves as punishment.
Sickness is a result of wanting to usurp, in a certain sense, the throne of God, meaning, um, it's like we think by punishing ourselves that somehow God won't punish us. It's kind of an after effect of guilt, you might say.
Right. Which comes back to, there has to be a better way. Just, I'm tired of punishing myself. When we recognize that, as we said earlier in the conversation, there's just mind. So anything that is occurring in the mind means the solution is in the mind, and that the Holy Spirit is located in the mind. So it's all inclusive. And sometimes the answer might be, go to the doctor, take medicine, do this, meditate longer, meditate shorter. The answer is there. I've been using this, that I'm often told that you can't fix people. You can't really, some people are just beyond being helped. That, you got to let people go. You got to do this, so you got to do that. And I try to point out that there's no people outside of the mind. The job isn't to go and say, I'm going to fix you. The job is to recognize that because I'm witness to it, it's occurring in this one singular mind. So the solution is there, and the solution is always just to forgive. It's not, I liken it to arranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. You can do that all you want. This ship is still going to sink. So you could go out and meddle in the world, and that might be something that you feel called to do. It's okay to do it, but the ultimate work is always within. The ultimate work is always forgiving, going to the formless, and let the form take care of itself.
I like the word. The course uses it a lot, and also in regards to healing, it's like, you can make an invitation. You can so if somebody doesn't feel well, they might want to feel better. Well, then you can like invite. You can make an invitation. You know, when and if this person wants to feel better, I'll invite the Holy Spirit.
Right.
If that's what they want.
Um, I just always try to make clear that I'm not trying to, by being kind, by offering forgiveness, that it might appear that we're doing this in the outer world, but it's really inner work. It's really, it has to do with what I'm doing in mind and less what's going on in the term of form. If there's anyone that seems irredeemable, that means there is an irredeemable um, essence in mind, not out there. But it means that I'm going to go back to Kenneth Wapnick. He says our only job is to keep searching the mind for those little dark corners and offer it light.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, also, it's like if it was turned around, if it was you, if it was Eric and he didn't feel good, and he was feeling sick, would you want somebody to judge that? Oh, it's because, this or that or the other, or would
right,
you just prefer like somebody would be gentle about inviting a better scene if that's what, if you would like?
right. Um, as always, the answer's simpler than the ego would like to make it.
You're
Um,
right.
and I did very much love that succinct answer from Kenneth Wapnick, that just because everything's taking place in the mind, just keep searching the mind. And fortunately, we really don't have to search because someone's going to volunteer to come up and be a jerk. Someone's going to volunteer to push our button. Someone's going to volunteer to step out of that dark corner and say, look at me. And we just shine light. And the world might not even recognize that we're shining light. That's not our job, isn't to announce to the world, look at me, I'm going to be kind. Look at me, I'm going to forgive. Our job is to be kind. Our job is to forgive.
Makes sense. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Mint says, it was 8 years ago when I truly found who I am and how I see things differently. I learned that everybody deserves a bit of your time, no matter what, or what they are and what they can make people feel. Sniper's back home safely.
Yay.
Hope you had a good day, Sniper. Long John says, if the mind caused the problem, then the mind can fix the problem. You are your mind. It's sort of, when we say you are the mind, which is true, but the ego quickly steps in and says, oh, I'm the mind.
Right.
So when we apply you are the mind, we mean that there's no you, meaning ego. That's the mind. Ego is an illusion. There's just mind. And we are thoughts, ideas in the mind of God.
Yeah. Just not prefer illusions. That's it.
Yeah. There's so many ways of simplifying the course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need them. We need those little reminders. Prefer non-illusions. We can do that as
Or
well
ask
as
yourself, do I prefer illusions? Would,
right,
I think a lot of the times you ask yourself, would you prefer the truth or would you prefer illusions? Maybe some of the time you would prefer illusions, but I think most of the time you prefer the truth. Like, I think we know when we're taking the piss out of ourselves
right.
on some level.
Um, so some people might say it depends on the illusion. If my illusion is a Lamborghini, um, and a high-paying job or winning the lottery, yeah, I sort of do prefer that illusion a little bit. But um, an illusion is an illusion is an illusion, and sooner or later, that which you seem to gain, uh, you either lose or even worse, you fear to lose, and you spend your entire life clinging to it and clinging to it. And we have the archetype of um, movie stars and glamorous people and famous athletes who achieve all those illusions they've cherished, but it never brought them real happiness. John Belushi being an example of someone much like that. And sooner or later, as the course says, our tolerance for pain may be high, but it's not without limits. Our tolerance for illusions not just tolerance, our desire for illusion might be high, but it's not without limits.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. Uh, I think of it much more in terms of an integrated sense, than I do an outside sense. By that I mean, at some point, it's like how you resonate with yourself. What is your sense of self? Is your sense of self something that you can take with you, or something you could leave behind?
Um, so this is going to be interesting.
Hmm.
Rebecca, our dear friend Rebecca, says, "You made me realize that I have an ego. I thought I was chill till I took a long look at myself. I didn't like what I saw." And then Lee agrees and says, "Becca, mine's awful. You're not alone." Um, I agree. Heart matters. Um, so I really want to talk about that because a lot of times when when we get that glimpse of the ego, Rebecca's words are so telling if we unpack it linguistically. Um, you made me realize that I have an ego. Who's the I that has the ego? When we recognize that, we realize that the ego is an appearance within that I, within the I am, within the Christ mind, within the mind of God. So, Rebecca, that you don't have an ego. An ego is an appearance within that infinite, vast endlessness of God, spirit, love of which you are. Um, the same for you, Lee. So when you see that, when you just it's not disassociate so much as it is just recognizing that there's the appearance of the ego and it claims to be you, but it's not you.
That's it. It's not giving it as much power as it once had. Even in the course, at some point, it says something like, it's kind of recognizing that there is a dream going on, that the ego is there, but just kind of preferring a happier dream. Letting it become a better dream. It'll still be a dream.
Right. Um, so when you see that, do you need to suit up, put on your armor, and go to battle with the ego? Do you need to fight it? Do you need to conquer it in any way?
No, just
How do you
recognize that there's an alternative.
right? How do you conquer an illusion?
Right.
Don Quixote, where tilting at we create these windmills and we go full bore, but the windmill's an illusion, uh, and that's the ego. So when we say I'm going to conquer the ego, I'm going to overcome the ego, I'm going to battle it, it's the ego giving itself a task for self perpetuating.
It's right. Let me maintain this. Right. As
So
long as I
Rebecca,
exist.
right? Rebecca, that's a huge realization, especially at a young age. So I would only really urge: don't pick up the battle axe, don't pick up the lance, don't tilt at the windmill. Uh, as soon as you see that there's a presence of the ego, you just relax and you choose otherwise. I love the statement, and I refer to it often. I write about it often. God thinks otherwise. Um, the ego is going to make all these bold statements of its independence, of its power, of its strength.
Of you.
Yep, and God thinks otherwise.
Yeah.
We're going to say that there are certain things that can't be forgiven, that some people are bad, that some people are rotten, that some people should whatever. God thinks otherwise. And
And
we,
it is incredible how much chatter that the ego can make. I mean, what if you just thought of God, like, for a moment, not almost as like photons or something, just it kind of like material and energy and vibration mixed together, and there you have it. It really isn't making a judgment, you know. So I really believe that God is not judging, or um that holiness judges. I truly believe that is true, and that all of the judgment and all of those things is stuff that the ego makes up.
And I would point out that we've all experienced that holiness and non-judgment. Um, we've had that void of ego, sometimes only for a holy instant, and then everything comes rushing into the. Somebody used to say that the universe abhors a void, but it's really the ego that abhors the void, because in the absence of the judgment, we simply are. And when we simply are, there's no ego. But the ego comes rushing back into that void saying, nope, nope, don't forget about me. And as soon as we, that little tiny mad idea, as soon as we give it a reality, bam. And the reason why, um, because we are creators. We are every bit the creator with God, except for one thing. We can't create it. We can't create ourselves.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't create ourselves.
But we certainly wish we did at one time, and that caused a whole lot of trouble.
That's true. That's true. Um, no, I kept on, my mind kept on getting occupied with something else, and I couldn't remember if I read it in the course or not, and it had to do with blindness. It's like another one of those sort of turnaround things. Is like love isn't blind, hate is blind. You know.
Right. I was going to write this out, but let's see when I talk about it here. Heart Matter says, would a judgment of a wolf be harsher than a tree because the wolf kills and the tree absorbs sunlight and raw elements? A judgment is a judgment is a judgment. Um, there's no cruelty in a wolf killing to eat. The judgment is the wolf is cruel
Yeah, it's
and
not
the tree
murder.
is good. Right.
It's not
And the tree
murder.
is good.
For a wolf, it's not murder.
Right. Um, and some people like to use cats as an example, but aren't cats cruel because they'll play with something with a mouse before they kill it? It's not cruelty, it's instinct.
Well, for the cat, it's love. Yeah.
Right. So um it's let me find that question. So just like an illusion is an illusion is an illusion, a judgment is a judgment is a judgment. Judging the wolf harshly or judging the tree less harshly, it's still a judgment.
And even if it's not harsh, I mean, I get, judgment is judgment is judgment. I often have to remind myself, hey, it goes either way. Even if I'm judging something positively, like that person's the greatest person on earth, or oh, this is so great, I recognize that I'm judging in both directions.
Right. So Heart Matter says, if I follow that logic, then no judgment of people is also possible. Um, I sort of go with yes and no. That as long as we are um, in the world, as long as we are ego and in the egoic structure, which if you're in a body, you're gonna have an ego, um, unless you've somehow, you know what I mean. You're that last little step before
Right.
getting all the way.
I do know what you mean.
And so you have an ego. It's not that I don't want to say go to no judgment. It's just recognizing that we're judging.
And also deciding, is that, would you want other people's vision of you, or what they share with you, to be just their judgment? Would you want anybody else to be limited by their judgment? Would you want judgment to be the active connective ingredient, like the proactive ingredient to um relationships and communication? I don't think it would be my first choice.
Right. So that's the key. Just know that you're doing it. Know that you're judging, and know that a judgment is a
Fallacy.
tool of, yeah, and it's a tool of the ego, and the ego is an illusion. Now, Lee says um, it's like walking down a road and seeing a group looking you're behaving menacingly, and you turn around and take the kids another way. That's a calculated, safe judgment. I'm not sure I'd actually call it a judgment, as a maybe a discernment, as a, the Holy Spirit doesn't say, uh, puff out your chest, you're protected, and walk through the group. Holy Spirit might say, um, go the other direction. And if you're in tune, you might not even find yourself on that street to begin with. You know, if we are astute enough to be asking for help moment by moment by moment, we don't even go down that street. We're led in a whole nother direction. But so many of us aren't at that point of listening. Me either. But the key is that, just like the ego, don't go to battle with your judgments. Just recognize that it's a judgment. And who knows, maybe the Holy Spirit will use that judgment as a tool and say, go the other direction. We're just, not everything needs to be a battle.
Yeah. And I mean, you can even think that the Holy Spirit is judging in its own way. It's just going to be a different sort of judgment.
Adam says, Becca, when I am forgiving, say, a major politician or player in the world miseries, I try to remind myself that, where is that? That is a person caught up in the evil, diabolical, and unfeeling thought form. I just read, and I don't remember where I read it. Imagine the child within that person when they were still innocent, when they were still loving, before the weight of the world and the world's harsh judgments about him, uh, just or her, weighed him down so much that the child became lost under that baggage of illusion. But the child's still present. So we look within, and I wrote about that this morning. Look for the light that exists within all of us.
Exactly. I was going to say, you would want uh, that person to have an alternative inside of them. Like you would want the possibility that they could be better, just like you would want the possibility, if that was you, that you could be better.
Right. Adam says awesomely, I love a rabid dog, but not the rabies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
One day, thank you, Maddie. Maddie comes in and says, dropping a like, Mr. Yogi. Much appreciated, my friend. One day, when I'm brave enough. Course in Miracles in Politics.
Ooh.
Are you brave enough?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if I
I don't
am.
know.
I got to be honest. I don't know if I am. I don't know if I want to get that deep in the weeds.
Actually, when this, I am not sure who it was because I'm not reading the little comments, but whoever was talking about the politics, when they said that, some names did come up in my my brain, some like political figures, and I was like, okay, what do I do with this? And I'm like, yeah, I would want the some people to have an alternative. Like if I was acting out of parts of me that were dark or maniacal or just what's the word, megalomania, when people want more power, greed.
Right.
I would really appreciate somebody to observe that there might be an alternative way to look at things
Sure.
inside.
You know, that love the rabid dog and not the rabies is very apt. And some people give us a greater task at hand to see that innocent child in others. They're our greatest teachers.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't need that great of a teacher. But hey, collectively, we do. Collectively, we need that person. The the greater the shadow, um, the more light we need to shine in that direction. It's not easy. We could actually call that the task of our lifetime, probably.
Yeah. Wake up calls.
Right. And man, if the task is looking for those dark corners and shining light, looking for that fear and offering love, just no matter how you look at it, it's a fearful time. And we need to heal the fear. I love Gerald Jampowski's Love is Letting Go of Fear. And we need to love. The only way through anything is to love our way through it. And that means each other.
Yeah, I keep hoping these days. I keep hoping for I keep wanting the 100th monkey theory to like pull through for me. I'm going. That's like where my hope lies these days. You know about the 100th monkey theory, kind of.
Yep.
You know.
Sniper talked about that too
Yeah.
last week. And it's also the Maharishi effect that's talked about in transcendental meditation. That when 1% of a when 1% of eventually it gets to 10%. But let's use the example of if one person in a family meditates, the household benefits from that practitioner because he's calmer, he's cooler, he's not feeding into the fire of family arguments and drama. When a family meditates, the neighborhood benefits.
Mhm.
When the neighborhood meditates, the city benefits, and on and on and on. The Maharishi effect. When 10% of the given population meditates, the entirety, the whole of the planet, uh, is better for it, is healed. Dalai Lama said that if we taught meditation in grade school, we would end the possibility, not just war, we would end the possibility of war within a generation. Um, we could say meditation is just a form of practicing peace. And practicing peace is choosing peace over and over and over again, in spite of what the world shows us, in spite of whatever political figure stands in front of us, in spite of our own worst instinct of wanting to pick up a banner and with a slogan and wave it around. On either side, for that matter, of shouting down someone, of insisting that I'm right and you're wrong. Um, the only way through, the only way through it is choosing peace, and it's hard when you do feel that you're right.
I loved yesterday. On your live yesterday, there was a bunch of people came on, and everybody was talking about peace. I was like so happy. It's like somebody asked, what's a miracle? For me, that's a miracle when you get, you know, I don't know, 15 people in a room talking about peace online, and they were all like strangers to each other a month ago or whatever. I think that's really miraculous.
I agree. Um, Jessica said that I am more than just a uniform, though. Absolutely, Jessica, you are someone. In my estimate, in my view, you shine very brightly, my friend. All right, so speaking of meditation, I'm gonna have to wrap things up so I can do my meditation.
Not without a fishbowl picking.
Of course.
Fishbowl imperative. Here we go. Da-da-da-dum, da-dum, da. Drum roll. What is the Holy Spirit's message for us all today? Here we go. Okay, consider once again your special function. You got a special function?
I believe I do.
One, okay. One is given you to see in him his perfect sinlessness. So no lack of love over there. Perfect sinlessness. One is given you to see in him his perfect sinlessness. Well, that almost sounds like somebody very holy indeed. Um, and you will ask no sacrifice of him because you could not will he suffer loss. So it's going to keep it pure.
There you go.
There you go.
Is it possible to look at someone in perfect sinlessness?
I think so. I
Um,
think so. I think it is. I don't think it's common, or I wouldn't, in my estimation, it's not very common
right.
that people look at other people that way. But I do think it's possible. Sure.
I like that because I think it brings us full circle to the beginning. Um, the ego is never going to look at someone in perfect sinlessness. That's not the job of the ego. So don't ask it to. Ask the Holy Spirit, ask for a miracle. Can I see this person in perfect sinlessness? And I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait with all my judgments. I'm willing to wait with all my accusations, my resentments, and my grievances until I'm given that miracle of being able to view this person through the miracle that the Holy Spirit offers.
It's kind of scary, though, to think. I mean, perfect sinlessness, that would be like there is no lack of love in that person. That's pretty scary to think that somebody could have no lack of love.
Right. Right.
Kind of cool, though.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
we just keep practicing.
All right. To
We
deal.
keep, yep,
Sounds
we
good.
keep looking for those that little dark corners, and we keep shining the light. And my friend, you are a light shiner.
Ah, thank you. You too.
I thank you. I enjoy our conversations. We're going to meet again next Monday.
Yes.
You know, by freestyling it, we covered a whole lot.
Yeah, I like the little tie-ins, because it's like there's different parts in this material that we've both studied quite a bit, and I like it how we can like kind of weave stuff in and out with stuff we've read. How there's different things tie into other things.
Right. Again, it goes back to that holographic nature. You
Yeah.
you're never far removed from anything else in the course. You can pick one topic, you can reach in and pull one imperative, and it leads you to every other imperative,
Right.
seamlessly so,
Yep.
which is the genius of the fishbowl.
Yeah. Fractal stems.
I like that. I know Sniper like that too. All right. Lucy says I will be pulling cards Thursday afternoon with Yogi. Friday we'll be doing a tarot live stream, Sebastian. So come on by, get your card read.
Would love that.
And thank you, Anna. Mint. All right. I will see you next Monday. I'll see you before, but I'll see you in person next Monday, face to face. Love you, my friend.
Bye, dears. Love you too.
Guys, I'll be back in about 3 hours. Come by and hang out again. We can continue this talk as much as you want. Warrior Pose 3 and Humble Warrior are difficult for me. Yep, there's always going to be those little areas that we need to be a little more mindful in those asanas and the postures. I had a long winter where I could not stay long in child's pose, perhaps the easiest pose of all, the easiest posture, because it was triggering anxiety. I would get in my position. This is the posture that I used to hold when I would go to in-person classes. and we would hold it for 5 minutes at a stretch. And I found that 1 or 2 breaths, and I was in a state of panic, and I had to leap out of it. It just kept coming back, morning after morning after morning. The key, like everything that we talked about, don't go to battle. Yoga is a mindfulness practice. How's my breath? How's my posture? How's this? How's that? How's every single aspect? But most importantly, how is my mind? All right. So thanks again, guys. What an awesome talk. Awesome friend, as all of you are as well. Mint says, take care, everyone. Stay blessed and have an amazing day. You're all amazing individuals and are like family to me. Thank you so much, Mint. Becca says, much love, Jessica. Jessica's going to be live at 6 tonight. Go on by and hang out. Hey, Dan. Dan says, Yogi Man. What's up, Dan? Hope you're well, my friend. He says, Jessica, you live today? Yep, she's going to be live at 6. Adam says, out is cool. Well, that certainly gives me hope. All right, guys, I'll see y'all later.